What's up, Jags fans? This is Jersey Jaguar here. And man, the NFL draft is fast approaching. I want to apologize for my lack of content during this offseason, but to be perfectly honest with you guys, there hasn't been a whole lot to talk about. The Jaguars are in a rare position that us fans really aren't used to where we're not picking top 10. We're not picking top 5. And it's kind of harder to gauge what the Jaguars are going to do currently at the 24th pick in the first round. And not much of an active offseason in regards to free agency, which is fine. I know I have made a video addressing that a while back. But, you know, typically I have a prospect in mind. I really want the Jaguars to target this guy. Last year it was Aiden Hutchinson. The year before that it was Trevor Lawrence, obviously. Years before that it was, you know, this so-and-so, whoever. Okay, I think we all kind of have fallen into that, and it's because the Jaguars have been picking so high. This year, to be perfectly honest with you guys, I have no idea what the Jaguars are going to do at 24. I kind of have a bold predict. Well, I don't know how bold it is, considering that I saw a article on Twitter today by John Shipley that kind of confirmed all of my theories, which I'll get into that in just a second. But I don't have a definitive player that I'm looking at pick 24 and saying that's who I want the Jags to take. I don't have that. There are multiple guys that if the Jaguars take, I'll be okay with. There's only one thing the Jaguars can do that would really rub me the wrong way and would pretty much ruin night one of the draft for me. And I'll get into that. That's what this video is all about. So, the Jaguars last year had a season that was something that none of us expected, obviously. The Jaguars were 2-6 at one point in that season and ended up finishing with a winning record and ended up completing one of the largest comebacks in NFL history and fell 7 points short to the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City in the divisional round of the playoffs. Incredible stuff from Doug Peterson year one. Trevor Lawrence took that huge year 2 leap and I believe will take an even more massive step in year 3. All this is fine and dandy. Awesome. Great stuff. So, where the Jaguars sit now at pick 24 and 56, I believe in the second round, what are the Jaguars supposed to do? Well, I see some people saying, and I guess I might as well just jump into it now, the thing that the Jaguars could do that would rub me the wrong way, pretty much the only thing they could do at 24 that would make me really upset, and that would be to take an offensive tackle. Now, let's do a little bit of math, you guys. In the NFL, there are 2 tackle positions. Right now, the Jacksonville Jaguars have Cam Robinson and Walker Little, who are 2 quality starting tackles in the NFL. So if you have 2 positions open and you have 2 players on your roster that fit those needs, how many players do you need to spend a premium draft pick on in order to continue your success? And when you go into Kansas City the next time in the playoffs, you have a better chance of winning that game. Don't draft a tackle at 24. That's all I ask. If you want to take Osiris Torrance, and, you know, if you feel like he's a better upgrade than Ben Bartch, no problem with that. Absolutely no problem with that. Go right ahead and do it. Any tackle, don't want it. Don't want no part of it. You have 3 fourth-round picks. If the Jaguars want to add depth on offensive line, I have no problem using any of those 4th-round picks. Well, Jersey Jaguar, what are they really going to get out of a 4th-round pick? What if someone gets injured? That's part of the game. And you know what? That makes the Jaguars have been in a fortunate situation with Walker Little sitting on the bench, who has proven he's a quality starting tackle in the NFL. The Jaguars, the last 2 years, have been in a fortunate situation with that. Now the Jaguars are just like everyone else. If one of their starting tackles goes down, their offensive line is screwed. Well, not screwed, but it lessens the value of the offensive line. Now you're just like everyone else. It is what it is. You can't... The Jaguars are in a position right now, you cannot spend that pick on a guy who's going to sit on the bench for at least another 2 years, barring injury, and you can't play the game like that. You cannot draft. Well, you know, we feel okay about our starting positions here, but if one guy gets hurt, we really could use that guy. That's the NFL. Okay, you cannot draft and you cannot strategize with the thought in mind of, well, someone's going to get hurt. Yeah, depth is important, but you know what? Across the NFL, offensive line depth is weak. Across the board, everywhere. So now the Jaguars, who have been in a good situation in that aspect, you know, they lost Juwan Taylor to the Chiefs. Now they're like everyone else, and that's okay. You want to spend a later round pick on a guy you think has good upside as a swing tackle, by all means do it. The 24th overall pick, massive mistake. I just want to throw that out there. Now, what the Jaguars should do with that pick and what the Jaguars' mindset should be going into the draft, I believe the Jaguars have 9 picks total in the draft, 3 of them in the 4th round. I'm pretty sure. I didn't fact check that before I hit record because I normally just hit record and start talking off the top of my head. But I'm pretty sure the Jaguars have 9 picks in this year's draft. Now, something tells me the Jaguars are not going to use all those picks. Trent Baalke showed last year that he is willing to trade up for someone he really wants. They traded up for Devin Lloyd. I would not be shocked if that happens again. If the Jaguars only end up using 6 picks or 7 picks. I'd be surprised if they used all 9. But what the Jaguars should do in this draft, my goodness. My goodness. So, like I said earlier in this video, the Jaguars had a magical season last year. What Doug Peterson has done and the steps that Trevor Lawrence took, the steps we expect him to take next year, you need to build off that. Okay? And what was the thing that ultimately lost us the game in Kansas City? Pass rush. I believe, ultimately. Yes, Jamal Agnew had the crucial fumble, and yes, at times the offense was a little stagnant, but pass rush, ultimately, is what lost us that game. We had Patrick Mahomes like a sitting duck. Couldn't even throw a screen pass because he couldn't plant his right foot. And the Jaguars couldn't touch him. Could not touch him after that. Now, my fear is that the Jaguars are relying on the development of Trayvon Walker. My fear is that the Jaguars are just going to say, well, we're not going to take a pass rusher at 24 because we trust Trayvon is going to get even better and, you know, everything's all fine and dandy. Although all of their visits, their top 30 visits that they've had to prospects have all been defensive linemen. Now, that could be something, but you got to think, the Jaguars did not host Devin Lloyd last year, and they traded up back in the first round to get him last year. So that doesn't always mean something. So just keep that in mind. But listen, you guys. Last year's draft proved that Trent Baalke is kind of in his own little world. I mean, I don't think any of us would have ever imagined that the Jaguars would leave last year's draft with the only real help for Trevor Lawrence would be a new center, and he would draft, you know, a defensive lineman and 2 linebackers with his real premium picks. I don't know that any of us predicted that, so I don't really know what to predict here. I don't know what the Jaguars are going to do at 24, but I think the goal in mind that we should have going into this draft is you have to add another edge rusher. It doesn't necessarily have to be at 24, although I would prefer it to be. It could be at 56 as well. This is a very deep class when it comes to edge rushers. But in the first 2 picks, you have to get another pass rusher. And, you know, I know nickel corner is a big need as well. I almost think that has to be your first and second picks is corner and pass rusher. However, going back to the point I just made about Trent Baalke being unpredictable and no one really kind of knowing what he's going to do, something tells me that the Jaguars could go tight end at 24. I think if Dalton Kincaid were to fall to 24, I think Doug Peterson would love to have him and Evan Ingram in the same offense. I don't know what it is. Something tells me that the Jaguars could do that, or the Jaguars could even go, dare I say, receiver at 24. I don't think they should. Me personally, with Calvin Ridley being reinstated and Calvin Ridley being in the best shape of his life and already, you know, catching passes from Trevor Lawrence, you draft a receiver at some point in the draft, another one, that's fine. I would not draft one at 24. But can we really predict what Trent Baalke is going to do? Who knows? My bold prediction is if this individual is on the board, the Jaguars, I think, will more than likely take him. Now, I don't know, I'm really kind of all over the place in this video. Wouldn't shock me if the Jaguars drafted Dalton Kincaid. Wouldn't be my first pick. Would not shock me if the Jaguars do it. But the guy that I think, if he's there, I have a sneaky feeling the Jaguars might pick, is Brian Brzee, defensive lineman out of Clemson. Now, I see a lot of mixed reviews, some real negative about him on Twitter. But here's what I will say about him. His rookie year, dude was pretty good. And then after that, he had an injury, he had like a lot of horrible things going on in his personal life. He fell off. But if you told me that we would get rookie year Brian Brzee on the Jaguars, I'll take it. I'll take it. But I see a lot of people are kind of like, don't really want that. You guys got to think, if Trent Baalke was willing to take someone like Trayvon Walker first overall, why would he not pick someone like Brian Brzee at 24? So that's just kind of where I'm at with that. I can't shake it. I have a feeling that's who the Jaguars would pick if he's still there. At least there's a very strong chance. It is what it is. So yeah, the Jaguars, at least with their first 3 picks, they need pass rusher, they need corner, and we need another tight end. There's some good tight ends in this draft. You know, I don't know. A tight end isn't a position necessarily that I would really like to take high. Like, I would rather, and I know I said that I could see the Jaguars taking Dalton Kincaid. I wouldn't at 24 because pass rush is a more pressing need. But I think in the 3rd round, if the right guy fell there, I wouldn't have an issue with it because the Jaguars really need depth there because they really don't have anyone outside of Evan Ingram. But the Jags got to walk away with defensive line help. I would not even be opposed, honestly, if the Jaguars went pass rush at 24 and 56. Wouldn't bother me in the slightest because Josh Allen is hitting, it's the 5th-year option. And from what we've seen, would you pay Josh Allen a bunch of money? I wouldn't. I love Josh Allen, but I wouldn't. Trayvon Walker is not proven whatsoever. The Jaguars lost Arden Key. The Jaguars have not re-signed Dwan Smoot. Jaguars need significant help. And unless Jordan Smith is like this diamond in the rough that's just going to erupt after being on the IR for 2 years, the Jaguars have nothing. So if the Jaguars were to get like a Will McDonald and, you know, a Derek Hall first, second round, bring it on. Bring it on. Because I will take that and have Trey Herndon standing in the slot week 1 over having Brian Branch in the slot, but yet it's still Trayvon Walker running to the middle of the tackle and Josh Allen continuing to be underwhelming at times. Like, that's just me. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today. It's kind of a long video, but haven't made one in a while, so hope you enjoyed it. If you watched all the way through, I appreciate you. If you're a Jags fan and you love Jags info, want to support another Jags fan, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Go Jags.